Okay, so let's talk about a word you've probably seen pop up, well, everywhere: gamification. It's in our workout apps, our language lessons, even our jobs. But is this modern trend of turning everything into a game really something new? Or does it tap into a much older, deeper idea about what it even means to be human? Let's dive in. And you know what? This whole idea, it's not exactly new. Way back in 1964, Mary Poppins was basically laying out the entire concept. She's often called the very first precursor to gamification, all because she knew that adding that spoonful of sugar, that little element of fun, can transform any chore into a game. So while Mary Poppins might have planted the seed, the actual term gamification is a whole lot more recent. Let's get a closer look at what it really means and where it came from. Right, so this is your classic textbook definition. And the key phrase here really is guide behavior. Whether it's to get you to run that extra mile, finish one more lesson, or even buy a product, the whole point is using things like points and badges to steer you toward a very specific outcome. Now, what's really cool is when you look at the timeline. You see, while Nick Pelling officially coined the term back in 2003, we already had Mary Poppins talking about it in '64. But you can go even further back, all the way to 1938, where a Dutch historian named Johanna Huizinga basically laid the entire philosophical groundwork for how we think about play, and we are definitely going to come back to him in a minute. And this is where things get really interesting, because you start to see two different flavors of gamification emerge. You've got that classic view, born out of marketing, which is all about guiding your behavior. But then you have this more recent take from Oriol Rapol, which is less about control and way more about creating a genuinely rewarding experience for you. It's a small change in words, but a huge shift in focus. To really get what's going on here, to understand that difference, we need to rewind, like way back, to a book from 1938 that totally changed the game for how we think about, well, play. Meet Johann Huizinga. In his incredible book, Homo Ludens, he made this huge argument. He said our usual labels for ourselves, Homo sapiens, the wise man, and Homo faber, man the maker, were missing something absolutely essential. He was convinced there was another side to us that was just as important. So what was this missing piece? For Huizinga, it was simple: play. But he didn't see play as just some silly thing kids do. Nope, he argued it's a fundamental part of being human, as critical as our ability to think or to build. He thought play was the very foundation of all culture. But, and this is key, his definition of play was very, very specific. Let's unpack that a bit. For Huizinga, to truly be play, it has to be voluntary. You have to choose to do it. It also exists in its own separate world, outside of your normal, everyday life. And here's the most important part. It has to be disinterested. That means you're not doing it for money, or to get a good grade, or to achieve some external goal. You're just doing it for the pure joy of playing. Okay, so now that we've got Huizinga's idea of pure play in our heads, let's put it head-to-head with our modern idea of gamification. This is where the sparks really start to fly. And bam, right away you can see the big differences. Sure, both are voluntary, you have to opt in, but that's kind of where the similarities stop. Huizinga's play is disinterested. It has no goal outside of itself. Meanwhile, gamification, as people like Jane McGonigal define it, absolutely requires a clear objective. And while play is separate from real life, gamification is all about getting that instant feedback to use in your daily tasks. This brings up a really fascinating question, especially when you think about school. If a teacher gamifies a homework assignment that you have to do, is it still a game? If we go by Huizinga's strict definition, the second you take away that free choice, you've lost the very soul of what makes it play. So, keeping that tension in mind, let's see how this actually plays out in the real world. Let's talk about the classroom. Now, it's super important to get this right. When we talk about gamifying the classroom, the idea isn't to turn algebra into a video game. The real goal is to borrow those elements that make games so addictive, the points, the badges, the leaderboards, and use them to create a more rewarding, more satisfying learning experience. It goes right back to Ripple's idea of focusing on the experience itself. So how do teachers actually pull this off? Well, they've got this gamification toolkit, you could call it. It all starts with a narrative, a cool story to wrap the lesson in. Then you add personalization, letting students create avatars or make choices. You absolutely have to have that fast feedback loop with missions, challenges, and of course rewards like points and badges. Each little piece is designed to tap into that human drive for progress and achievement. But, And this is a big but. It's not all fun and games. We have to remember where gamification came from: marketing. And its main goal is to influence behavior. Now, that can be a powerful force for good, but it also runs the risk of making complex subjects feel shallow, turning the quest for knowledge into just a race for points. It really seems like the key is intent. Are you trying to create a gratifying experience, or are you just trying to direct behavior? So, after all that, where do we land? After looking at the amazing potential and the serious pitfalls, we're left with this huge question. Is gamification just another trend that'll fade away? Or is it a genuine opportunity to change how we learn and work for the better? And to help us think about that, let's go back to Huizinga just one last time. For him, play wasn't trivial, it was profound. It was almost sacred. He believed that when we truly, freely play, we're tapping into the deepest, most creative parts of our spirit. It's an act of pure freedom. And that, I think, is the absolute heart of the matter. Gamification is a tool, a very powerful tool that uses the fun parts of games to help us reach our goals. But it is fundamentally, radically different from what Huizinga was talking about. For him, play wasn't a means to an end. It was the end. It's a state of being, not a strategy to get something done. And so we're left with this question. In our rush to make everything a game, are we unlocking a powerful new way to make learning more meaningful? Or in our focus on points and rewards and objectives, are we accidentally forgetting how to just play? Something to think about.